The great council chamber buzzed with worried voices. Beings from across the galaxy filled the massive room, their strange forms creating shadows on the crystal walls. Some had tentacles that moved like snakes. Others had scales that caught the light. A few looked almost like trees with eyes. Taemin stood near his seat, his blue skin darker than usual. He was the ambassador for the Valari people. For 3 meetings now, he had watched the empty chairs where humans should sit. The silence from those chairs felt wrong. "They are just late again," said Yuna from her high seat at the front. She led the council and her crystal body threw rainbow light across the room. "Humans are always causing problems." Maybe they forgot about the meeting, but Taemin shook his head. He had worked with humans before. They never missed important meetings. They wrote everything down and always came early. Something was very wrong. Dr. Hana moved to the center of the room. She was from the Zephyrian race, tall and thin like a blade of grass. Her work studying different life forms had made her famous across the galaxy. When she spoke, everyone listened. "Council leader Yuna," Hana said, her voice clear and strong. "I have bad news about the humans, very bad news." The room became quiet. Even the smallest sounds stopped. Yuna's crystal face showed no feeling, but her light grew brighter. This meant she was worried. "Tell us," Yuna said. Hana touched a small device on her arm. Above her head, a map of space appeared in the air. It showed hundreds of star systems, each one marked with different colors. Red dots marked human colonies. Blue dots showed their research stations. Green dots were their military bases. "Look at this," Hana said. 3 days ago, every red dot went dark. 2 days ago, every blue dot stopped sending messages. Yesterday, all the green dots went silent too." The council members made worried sounds. Some clicked their claws, others buzzed their wings. The fear in the room was thick like smoke. "What does this mean?" asked Bin Wu. He spoke for the Nexari Empire, a group that controlled many star systems. His 4 arms moved as he talked, and his golden eyes glowed with anger. "Are the humans dead? Did someone attack them?" "No," Hana said. "That is what makes this so strange. We sent ships to check on them. Every human place we found was empty. But nothing was broken. Nothing was stolen. The lights were turned off properly. The doors were locked. The computers were shut down the right way." She touched her device again. New pictures appeared in the air. They showed empty rooms, clean hallways, and neat desks with no people anywhere. "They left like they were going on a short trip," Hana continued. "But they took everything important, all their personal things, all their research, all their ships. Everything that mattered to them is gone." The room exploded with voices. Everyone talked at once. Some aliens screeched, others roared. The noise was so loud that Yuna had to flash her lights very bright to make them stop. "This is good news," Bin Wu said when the room was quiet again. "The humans were always trouble. They never followed our rules. They asked too many questions. They built things in ways we did not like. Now we do not have to deal with them anymore." Many council members made sounds of agreement. The humans had been in the galaxy for only 50 years. Most of the other races had been there for thousands of years. The humans seemed young and wild and hard to control. But Admiral Kyung-ho did not look happy. He was in charge of keeping the galaxy safe, and his job had just become much harder. His people looked like large bears that walked on 2 legs. When he was worried, his brown fur stood up straight. "Council leader," he said in his deep voice, "this is not simple. The humans did not just leave. They planned this. Look at these numbers." He stood up and showed his own set of pictures. These showed the movement of human ships over the past months. "The humans moved very carefully," he said. "First, they brought all their important people back to their main worlds. Then they moved their research materials. Then they took apart their bases piece by piece. This took months of planning." "So what?" said a voice from the back. It belonged to a creature that looked like a giant spider. "Good planning does not make them smart. It just means they knew they did not belong here." But Kyung-ho shook his head. "You do not understand. Look at how they moved. Every ship went to a different place first. Then they all disappeared at the same time. Their communication network went dark in a pattern that covered 17 sectors at once." He paused and looked around the room. This kind of coordination should be impossible. With their technology, we always said their computers were too simple. We said their communication systems were too slow. But somehow they did something we cannot do. Taemin felt cold fear in his stomach. He had spent years working with human diplomats. They always seemed honest and open. They shared their technology freely. They helped other races solve problems. But maybe they had not been as simple as everyone thought. There is something else, Hana said quietly. I looked at the records of what humans were working on. They were involved in more projects than any other race. They helped build the new trade routes. They fixed the communication networks between sectors. They solved food shortages on 12 different worlds. She paused and looked around the room. They also helped design the defense systems that protect us from pirates. They trained security forces on 43 worlds. They built the emergency response teams that helped during disasters. The room was very quiet now. Everyone was starting to understand what Hana was saying. How much of our daily life depends on things the humans built or fixed? She asked. Yuna's crystal body grew brighter and brighter. This was her way of showing stress. Are you saying the humans were more important than we thought? I am saying we might have made a mistake, Hana replied. A very big mistake. Binwu made an angry sound. Impossible! We are the advanced races. We have been building civilizations while humans were still living in caves on their one small world. They needed our help, not the other way around. But Admiral Kyung-ho was looking at his data screens with growing worry. Council leader, I need to run some tests. I need to check our defense systems and our communication networks. If Dr. Hana is right, we might be in serious trouble. Do it, Yuna said. Check everything. As the council meeting ended, the members filed out slowly. Some still seemed happy that the humans were gone. Others looked worried. But Taemin stayed in his seat, staring at the empty chairs where humans used to sit. He remembered the last human he had talked to. Her name was Min Seo, and she was young for a diplomat. She had seemed sad about something, but when he asked her what was wrong, she just smiled and said everything would be fine. Now he wondered if she had known this was going to happen. Had all the humans known? Had they been planning this while still helping other races with their problems? The thought made him feel sick. If the humans had been planning to leave, why had they kept helping everyone? Why had they kept fixing things and solving problems right up until the day they disappeared? Maybe, he thought, they had been trying to make sure the galaxy could survive without them. Maybe they had been preparing everyone for this moment. But if that was true, it meant the humans had known something that the Council did not. It meant they understood things about the galaxy that the other races had missed. And if the humans were that smart, maybe their leaving was not the good thing that everyone thought it was. Maybe it was the beginning of something much worse. 3 months had passed since the humans disappeared. So Young wiped sweat from her forehead as she crawled out of the broken machine. The mining equipment on Valdorian Prime had stopped working again. This was the 5th breakdown this week. Can you fix it? Asked the mine supervisor. His name was Grix, and he belonged to a race that looked like walking rocks. Usually nothing worried him. But now his stone face showed deep cracks of stress. I can try, So Young said. She was one of the best engineers in the Valdorian Republic, but lately her job had become much harder. The problem is with the central processing unit, it keeps overheating. That never happened before, Grix said. So Young nodded. That is because humans used to come here every month. They would adjust the cooling systems and update the software. I thought they were just being helpful. Now I realize they were keeping everything from breaking. She looked at the massive machine. It was supposed to dig rare metals from deep underground. The humans had helped design it 3 years ago. Back then, everyone said human engineering was too simple. The machine looked ugly compared to the beautiful devices other races built, but it worked better than anything else. Now, without human maintenance, it was falling apart. How long until you can fix it? Grix asked. Maybe 2 weeks, So Young said. But it will break again soon after. I do not understand how the humans kept it running so smoothly. Across the galaxy, similar problems were happening everywhere. On the trade routes, ships were getting lost because the navigation systems were not working properly. The humans had been quietly updating the star maps and fixing small errors that no one else noticed. Admiral Kyung-ho stood in his command center, looking at reports from across the galaxy. His bear-like face was grim. Red warnings covered the main screen. "Sir," said his assistant, a young officer named Dae-hyun. "We have another problem. The patrol route through the Kalani sector has been hit by pirates again. That is the fourth attack this month. How many ships did we lose?" Kyung-ho asked. "3 cargo vessels and 1 passenger ship. 57 people are dead." Kyung-ho growled deep in his throat. Before the humans left, pirate attacks were rare. Human patrol ships had covered the dangerous areas, working together with the official fleet. Everyone thought the humans were just trying to prove themselves. Now the pirates were everywhere. "Where are our patrol ships?" he asked. "We moved them to cover the routes the humans used to watch," Dae-hyun said. "But we do not have enough ships. The humans had twice as many patrol vessels as we thought they needed. We said they were wasting resources, and now we know they were not wasting anything," Kyung-ho said quietly. In the Meridian Trade Center, diplomat Ji-hoon was having the worst day of his career. The trade routes that connected different parts of the galaxy were failing. Ships were arriving late or not at all. Some were getting lost in space. Others were being attacked by pirates. "The economic damage is getting worse every day," said his assistant, a woman named Eun-ji. 17 worlds are reporting food shortages. 8 colonies cannot get the medical supplies they need. The luxury goods market has completely collapsed. Ji-hoon rubbed his tired eyes. "Show me the human trade data again." Yoon-ji put up a holographic display. It showed how goods moved through space before the humans left. The patterns were complex and beautiful, like a spider web made of light. "Look at this," Ji-hoon said, pointing at the display. The humans were not just trading their own goods. They were carrying cargo for other races too. They were like the glue that held the whole system together. "But their ships were so ugly," Yoon-ji said. "They looked like flying metal boxes." "Ugly but useful," Ji-hoon replied. "They could carry more cargo than our beautiful ships. They needed less fuel. They could land on planets where our ships could not go." He paused and looked at the data more carefully. They were also doing something else. Look at these routes. The humans were not just moving goods randomly. They were making sure every world got what it needed, when it needed it. "You mean they were managing the entire galactic economy?" Yoon-ji asked. "Without anyone knowing it," Ji-hoon said. "We thought we were in charge, but the humans were actually running everything." Dr. Hana was in her laboratory, studying the communication problems that were spreading across the galaxy. The quantum communication arrays that connected different star systems were acting strangely. Messages were arriving late or not at all. Some messages were getting scrambled. Her assistant, a young scientist named Sung-min, brought her a cup of tea. "Dr. Hana, I found something interesting in the human communication records." "What is it?" she asked. "The humans did not just use our communication networks," Sung-min said. "They improved them. Look at this." He showed her a technical diagram. It was full of equations and strange symbols. "The humans added their own devices to our quantum arrays. They said the devices would make communications faster and more reliable." "And we believed them," Hana said. "The problem is, their devices were much more advanced than we thought. They were not just making small improvements. They were completely changing how the system worked." Hana felt cold fear in her stomach. "Are you saying our communication network depends on human technology?" "Yes," Sung-min said. "And without humans to maintain it, the whole system is slowly breaking down." As if to prove his point, the communication device on Hana's desk began to beep with an error message. She tried to contact the research station on Kepler Prime, but the signal would not go through. "How long before the entire network fails?" she asked. "At this rate, maybe 6 months," Seung-min said. "After that, we will not be able to coordinate anything across the galaxy. Each world will be on its own." The worst news came from the agricultural worlds. Dr. Young Mi, the chief medical officer for the council, received reports that made her tentacles curl with worry. She belonged to a race that looked like intelligent octopi, and when she was stressed, her skin changed colors. "The crop failures are getting worse," she told the emergency council meeting. 12 agricultural worlds are reporting massive problems. The soil is becoming toxic. The plants are dying. "How is this possible?" asked Yuna. The crystal being's light was dim with exhaustion. She had been working day and night to deal with the crisis. The humans had agricultural experts on every farming world, young Mi explained. We thought they were just learning from us, but they were actually fixing problems we did not know existed. She showed pictures of dead fields and sick animals. The humans were adding special chemicals to the soil. They were modifying the crop genetics. They were controlling pest populations. Without them, the agricultural systems are collapsing. Can we continue their work? Asked Bin Wu. He still believed the other races were superior to humans. We are trying, young Mi said. But we do not understand their methods. Human agriculture looked simple and crude, but it was actually very complex. They understood things about biology that we are just beginning to learn. The room fell silent. The council members were finally starting to understand how much they had depended on the humans. But the worst discovery came from Admiral Kyung-ho's intelligence department. A young officer named Su Bin had been studying old patrol reports. What she found made her hands shake as she prepared her presentation. Admiral, she said, I found something in the archived data. Something very important. What is it? Kyung-ho asked. The humans were not just patrolling trade routes, Su Bin said. They were fighting a secret war. She showed him classified reports that had been hidden in human databases. The reports described battles in empty space, far from any inhabited worlds. Strange ships with unknown technology had been attacking the galaxy from outside. But every time, human fleets had stopped them. How many attacks? Kyung-ho asked quietly. At least 50 over the past 10 years, Su Bin said. Maybe more. The humans never told us about any of them. Kyung-ho stared at the data. They were protecting us, and we never knew. Sir, Su Bin said, her voice very small. According to these reports, another attack force is coming. It will arrive in less than 6 months. How big is it? Bigger than anything the humans faced before. Much bigger. Kyung-ho closed his eyes. Without the humans, the galaxy had no protection against whatever was coming. The council fleets were designed for patrol work and small conflicts. They had never fought a real war. As news of the crisis spread, panic began to grip the galaxy. Worlds that had been safe for centuries suddenly felt vulnerable. Trade stopped. People hoarded food and supplies. Some colonies began building their own defense forces. But most frightening of all was the growing realization that the humans had not left because they were angry or hurt. They had left because they knew what was coming. They had tried to prepare the galaxy for their departure. They had fixed as many problems as they could. They had left behind instructions and equipment, but the other races had been too proud to pay attention. They had assumed human help was just charity from a primitive species. Now they understood the truth. The humans had not been the students, learning from advanced alien teachers. The humans had been the teachers, patiently helping their students survive. And now the teachers were gone, just when the final exam was about to begin. 6 months after the humans vanished, the galaxy was dying. Council leader Yuna stood in her private chamber, watching reports stream in from across space. Her crystal body, once bright with confidence, now flickered weakly like a dying star. The first to fall were the agricultural worlds. Farmers on Ceres Colony watched their crops turn black and crumble to dust. The soil that had fed millions for decades was now poison. Without human agricultural scientists to balance the complex chemistry, the farming systems collapsed completely. We have no food left, reported Governor Tae-wook from New Harvest. His voice cracked with desperation. The emergency supplies will last maybe 2 weeks. After that, people will start dying. Similar messages came from dozens of worlds. The humans had quietly managed food production across the galaxy, making sure every planet got the nutrients it needed. Now, with that careful balance gone, famine spread like fire. Dr. Youngmi worked without sleep, trying to save what she could. Her medical team had discovered something terrible about the crop failures. The plants were not just dying from bad soil, they were being killed by diseases that human scientists had been preventing for years. Look at this, she told her assistant, Jamin, showing him samples under a microscope. These are fungal infections that should not exist anymore. The humans created treatments that kept these diseases under control. Can we make the treatments ourselves? Jamin asked. Young Mi's tentacles drooped with exhaustion. We tried, but human medicine is more advanced than ours in ways we never understood. They do not just treat diseases, they prevent them from starting. Their approach is completely different from ours. She showed him a human medical report that made no sense to council scientists. They think about the whole ecosystem, not just individual patients. They understand connections we cannot even see. The transportation crisis was even worse. Captain Dong Hyun commanded one of the few deep space exploration fleets still operating. But his beautiful council ships, designed to look impressive at diplomatic meetings, were failing in real space work. "We lost another ship yesterday," he reported to Admiral Kyung-ho. "The engine systems cannot handle long-distance travel. We have been stranded twice this month waiting for rescue." "What about the human ship designs we studied?" Kyung-ho asked. "We always said they were ugly and simple," Dong-hyun replied. "But now, I understand why they look that way. Every part had a purpose. Nothing was wasted on appearance. Their ships could go anywhere and fix themselves when things went wrong." He pulled up technical drawings that his engineers had been studying. "Look at this human cargo ship. It looks like a metal box with engines, but it has 7 backup systems for every important function. Our ships have one backup system, and we made it beautiful instead of reliable. The communication breakdown was strangling the galaxy's ability to coordinate rescue efforts. Dr. Hana worked desperately to keep the quantum networks functioning, but every day brought new failures. The quantum calibration is off by 3%, reported her assistant, Seung Min. That does not sound like much, but it means messages from the outer sectors take 4 days instead of 4 hours. Can we fix it? Hana asked. Not with our technology. The humans were constantly adjusting the quantum fields to account for stellar drift and gravitational changes. They had computers doing calculations that our scientists thought were impossible. Hana stared at the displays showing the failing network. Red zones marked areas where communication had been lost completely. How many worlds are cut off now? 47 systems have no outside contact, Seung-min said quietly. We do not know if they are alive or dead. The pirate attacks were becoming a slaughter. Without human patrol ships maintaining security, raiders emerged from hiding places throughout the galaxy. But these were not ordinary pirates interested in cargo and money. Intelligence officer Subin discovered the horrible truth when she decoded captured pirate communications. Admiral, they are not just stealing things, they are taking people. Taking them where? Admiral Kyung-ho asked. We do not know, but the pattern is clear. They target colonies with specific types of populations, scientists, engineers, medical workers. They are hunting for knowledge. Subin showed him the attack reports. The humans must have been stopping this for years. These pirate groups are too organized and too well equipped to be new. They have been waiting for their chance. The worst realization came when Subin analyzed the timing of the attacks. Sir, they knew. The pirates knew the humans were leaving before we did. Some of these raids were planned months in advance. How is that possible? Kyung-ho demanded. Because they have been watching us just like the humans were. But the humans were protecting us, and these others are hunting us. On the research stations, chaos ruled. The galaxy's scientific progress had depended heavily on human contributions, but no one had realized how much. Dr. Minho worked at the Quantum Research Institute, trying to continue experiments that humans had started. Nothing works, he told his team during their daily crisis meeting. Every project the humans were involved in has stopped producing results. Maybe we can contact them somehow, suggested his colleague So Jin. Ask them to explain their research, Minho shook his head. We tried, but we cannot reach them. And even if we could, I do not think they would help us. We treated them badly for 50 years. We acted like they were children who needed our guidance. He showed the team a human research paper that had been dismissed by council scientists 2 years ago. This paper describes a new type of energy generation. We said it was impossible because it did not fit our theories. Now I realize our theories were wrong. What do we do? Sojin asked. We try to learn, but it might take us decades to understand what the humans already knew. The emergency council sessions became exercises in despair. Every day brought worse news. Every attempt to solve problems revealed more dependencies on human help that no one had recognized. We need to declare martial law, suggested Binwu during one meeting. His 4 arms gestured frantically as he spoke. Military control of all. Resources. Forced labor to maintain critical systems. That will not work, replied Taemin. The problems are too complex for simple solutions. We need knowledge, not force. Yuna's crystal body had grown so dim that the chamber lights had to be turned up for others to see. How long before complete collapse? At current rates, major population centers will start failing within 2 months, reported the council's chief analyst. Food shortages will kill millions. Transportation breakdown will strand billions. Communication failure will end any chance of coordination. And the external threat that the humans were fighting? Yuna asked quietly. Admiral Kyung-ho's response chilled everyone in the room. Our long-range sensors detect massive ship formations moving toward the galaxy. They will arrive in approximately 10 weeks. How massive? Binwu asked. Large enough to destroy every major world simultaneously. The room fell silent. The council members finally understood their situation completely. The galaxy was collapsing from within due to the loss of human support. At the same time, an external enemy was approaching to finish what the collapse had started. Do we know where the humans went? Yuna asked. Our best estimates put them somewhere in the void between galaxies, Admiral Kyung-ho replied. But we have no way to reach them. Our ships cannot travel that far. Could we send a message? Even if we could, why would they listen? We spent 50 years telling them they were primitive and worthless. We celebrated when they left. Why would they save us now? But not everyone had given up hope. Dr. Hana had been studying the human departure more carefully than anyone else. She had found something that others had missed. I do not think the humans left because they were angry, she announced at the next council meeting. I think they left because they knew this would happen. What do you mean? Yuna asked. Look at the timing. The humans did not leave suddenly. They prepared for months. They fixed as many systems as they could before departing. They left behind instruction manuals that we ignored. They tried to train us to maintain their work. Hana showed the council a collection of human documents that had been found in abandoned facilities. These are maintenance guides for every system the humans worked on. Technical manuals, training programs. They tried to teach us how to survive. Without them. Then why are we failing? Asked Binwu. Because we were too proud to pay attention, Hana replied. We thought human knowledge was primitive. We did not bother to learn from them. She paused and looked around the room. But I think they knew we would eventually understand. I think they expected us to figure it out when things got bad enough. You think they are waiting for us to ask for help? Yuna asked. I think they are waiting for us to admit we were wrong. The idea sparked the first hope anyone had felt in months. If the humans had not abandoned the galaxy in anger, maybe they could be convinced to return. Maybe there was still time to save everything, but first, the council would have to do something they had never done before. They would have to admit that they had been completely wrong about humanity. And they would have to do it quickly, before the galaxy died and the approaching enemy arrived to destroy whatever was left. The question was whether their pride would let them swallow the truth, in time to save billions of lives. 9 months after humanity's departure, Admiral Kyung-ho stood on the bridge of the Council's fastest ship, staring into the dark void between galaxies. Behind him, the galaxy he had sworn to protect was dying. Ahead lay the unknown, and possibly the only hope for salvation. Sir, we are detecting something, reported Navigation Officer He-jin. Her voice carried both excitement and fear. Long-range sensors show massive construction activity. Whatever is out there, it is huge. The Joint Council fleet had been traveling for 6 weeks, following the faint energy signatures left by departing human ships. It was the most desperate mission in galactic history. Every world they had left behind was struggling to survive. Food riots were spreading, communication networks were failing, and the approaching enemy force grew larger on their sensors each day. Can we see what they are building? Kyung-ho asked. Switching to visual display now, replied sensor technician. Dongwu. The main screen filled with an image that took everyone's breath away. Spread across thousands of kilometers of empty space was a construction project beyond imagination. Massive ships worked together like a perfectly coordinated dance. Structures that dwarfed entire space stations were taking shape from raw materials. That seemed to appear from nowhere. But most shocking of all were the ships themselves. These were not the simple, ugly human vessels that everyone remembered. These ships were sleek and beautiful, with flowing lines that seemed to bend light around them. They moved with grace and purpose that made Council technology look clumsy by comparison. "Those are human ships?" asked Ambassador Tae Min, who had joined the fleet as the Council's negotiator. "They look completely different." "The energy signatures match," Dongwu confirmed, "but the technology appears to be centuries ahead of what we saw before." A communication and signal reached them before they could get closer. The voice that came through the speakers was calm and professional, speaking perfect galactic standard language. "Council Fleet, this is Captain Wu Jin of the Human Vessel Determination. Please state your purpose for entering human space." Kyung-ho stepped forward. "Captain Wu Jin, this is Admiral Kyung-ho of the Galactic Council Defense Force. We request permission to speak with human leadership about the crisis facing our galaxy." There was a long pause. Then Captain Wu Jin's voice returned, carrying a hint of sadness. "Admiral, we are aware of the situation in Council space. Please follow the navigation beacon we are transmitting. You will be escorted to a meeting facility." As they followed the beacon deeper into the construction zone, the scale of human achievement became clear. They were not just building ships or stations. They were creating an entire civilization from nothing. Cities floated in space, connected by energy bridges that sparkled like jewels. Farms operated in massive rotating cylinders. Factories that seemed to grow materials out of empty space worked continuously. "How is this possible?" whispered Dr. Hana, who had also joined the mission. "This level of technology should take thousands of years to develop." "Maybe," said Tae Min quietly. "The humans were always more advanced than we knew." They were guided to a space station that was larger than some moons. As their ship docked, they were met by a human delegation led by a woman who introduced herself as Diplomat Sora. She was young-looking, but her eyes held depths of knowledge that seemed ancient. "Welcome to New Horizon Station," she said with perfect politeness. "Please follow me to the conference chamber." The inside of the station was as impressive as the outside. The walls seemed to be made of living light that shifted and flowed. Plants grew in impossible patterns, creating gardens that existed in 3 dimensions. The technology was so advanced that it looked like magic. "Your people have been busy," Tae Min said as they walked. "We have had a long time to prepare," Sora replied. "Longer than you might think." The conference chamber was a sphere of transparent material that floated in space. As the council delegation took their seats around a circular table, they could see the vast human construction project spreading in all directions around them. More humans entered the chamber. Each one looked calm and confident, but their eyes held the same deep sadness that Sora's did. These were not the eager, slightly primitive humans that the council remembered. These were beings who had seen beyond the edge of the galaxy and learned truths that changed everything. The human delegation was led by Captain Wu Jin, a man who looked to be in his 40s but carried himself with the wisdom of centuries. When he spoke. His words were measured and careful. "Members of the Galactic Council," he began, "we know why you have come. Your civilization is collapsing, and you need our help." "Yes," Admiral Kyung-ho said simply. "Our worlds are dying. Our people are starving. We do not know how to maintain the systems you built for us." Captain Wu Jin nodded. "We expected this would happen. We tried to prepare you for our departure, but you were not ready to listen." Diplomat Sora activated a display that showed the current state of council space. Red zones marked failing systems, yellow areas showed critical problems, and green zones showed places that were still functioning. There was very little green. "We have been monitoring the situation," she said. "Food distribution has collapsed on 47 worlds. Transportation networks are operating at 12% efficiency. Communication delays have increased by 800%. Pirate activity has risen by 4,000%. "You have been watching us fail?" asked Tae Min. "We have been watching you learn," Captain Wu Jin corrected gently. "For 50 years, we tried to teach the council races how to manage galactic civilization. But you believed you were teaching us." Another human, introduced as Dr. Min Seo, joined the conversation. Every time we offered to show you how our systems worked, you said you already understood. Every time we suggested improvements, you said our methods were too primitive. Every time we warned about potential problems, you said we were being overcautious. We were wrong, Kyung-ho admitted. We understand that now. Do you? Asked Captain Woo Jin. Or are you simply desperate? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Sora activated another display, this one showing the Council's reaction to humanity's departure over the past 9 months. For the first 3 months, your people celebrated our leaving, she said. Council meetings were filled with congratulations about solving the human problem. It was only when systems started failing that you realized something was wrong. Dr. Hana leaned forward. We were foolish and arrogant. We admit that completely, but billions of people are dying. Whatever mistakes we made, innocent populations are paying the price. And there is another threat coming, Admiral Kyung-ho added. Our sensors show a massive hostile force approaching the galaxy. We cannot defend against it without your help. For the first time, the humans showed strong emotion. Captain Woo Jin's calm expression darkened, and several other humans exchanged worried looks. The Devourers, said Dr. Min Seo quietly. We have been fighting them for 15 years. Devourers? Taemin asked. Captain Woo Jin stood and walked to the chamber's transparent wall. Beyond it, the human construction project continued its endless work. They are a force from outside this galaxy. Their only purpose is to consume civilizations and use the resources to grow stronger. We discovered them during our early exploration. Missions, Sora explained. They had already destroyed 3 other galaxies. This one was next on their list. For 15 years, human fleets fought them in the dark space between star systems, Dr. Min Seo continued. We never told the Council, because we knew you would not believe us. You thought we were too primitive to handle such threats. We stopped 57 invasion attempts, Captain Woo Jin said. Each time we hoped it would be the last. But they kept coming, and each attack was stronger than the one before. Why did you leave if the threat was still active? Kyung-ho asked. Captain Woo Jin turned back to face them. Because we realized that fighting the Devourers while managing galactic civilization was impossible. We were spread too thin, trying to do too many things, so we made a choice. We decided to leave the galaxy to build a proper defense, Sora said. We hoped the Council races would learn to take care of themselves in our absence. We hoped that, when the final battle came, we would be fighting alongside equals instead of protecting helpless children. Dr. Hana felt tears forming in her eyes. And instead, we proved that we really were helpless children. Not helpless, Dr. Min Seo said kindly. Just not ready. The question now is whether you can become ready in time. What do you mean? Taemin asked. Captain Woo Jin activated a new display. It showed the approaching Devourer fleet in detail. The ships were massive, dark things that seemed to absorb light instead of reflecting it. There were thousands of them, moving in perfect formation toward the galaxy. This is their final assault, he said. Everything they have learned from their attacks on other galaxies has been incorporated into this fleet. They will arrive in 7 weeks. Can you stop them? Kyung-ho asked. We can fight them, Captain Woo Jin replied. Our new ships and weapons are specifically designed for this battle. But we cannot fight them and save the galaxy at the same time. What are you saying? Taemin asked, though he feared he already knew. Sora looked around the table, meeting each council member's eyes. The emergency council session was unlike any in galactic history. For the first time, every member world had sent representatives. Even species that had been enemies for centuries sat together in the Great Chamber. The threat facing them was too large for old grudges. Council leader Yuna stood at the center of the room, her crystal body dim with exhaustion. Around her, hundreds of beings from across the galaxy waited to hear the human ultimatum that Admiral Kyung-ho had brought back. They want us to admit we were wrong, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. They want us to abandon the belief that council races are superior to humanity. They want us to treat them as equals. Impossible, shouted Binwoo, his 4 arms waving angrily. We have built civilizations for thousands of years while they lived like animals on one small world. How can they demand equality? Because without them, we are all going to die, replied Admiral Kyung-ho bluntly. I have seen what they built in the void. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours. They have become something we cannot even understand. Dr. Hana rose from her seat. I have analyzed the data from our mission. The evidence is clear. Humanity was always more advanced than we realized. We saw what they wanted us to see. What do you mean? Asked a delegate from the Outer Rim territories. Think about it, Hana said. They arrived in our galaxy 50 years ago with faster-than-light travel. They had solved problems that took us millennia to figure out, but they acted like students, asking for our help and guidance. She activated a holographic display showing human achievements. Now I realize they were not asking for help. They were politely trying to teach us without making us feel inferior. That is impossible, Binwu insisted. Their ships were ugly, their technology looked primitive. Because they designed it to look that way, replied Dr. Minho from the Research Division. I have been studying the human equipment they left behind. Every piece looks simple on the outside, but contains technology we cannot replicate. Taemin stood up slowly. There is something else. During our meeting with the humans, diplomat Sora said they had been preparing for a long time. She said, longer than we might think. What if humanity did not just develop this technology in 9 months? What are you suggesting? Yuna asked. What if they always had it? What if they came to our galaxy not as primitives seeking help, but as advanced beings trying to protect us from something we could not see? The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some delegates refused to believe such a thing was possible. Others demanded proof. But slowly, as the evidence mounted, a horrible truth became clear. The Devourers, Admiral Kyung-ho said quietly, and the room fell silent. The humans said they had been fighting them for 15 years, but humanity has only been in our galaxy for 50 years. What if they came here specifically to protect us? Dr. Hana's tentacles curled as she processed this possibility. You mean they sacrificed their own advancement to babysit us? They pretended to be primitive, so we would not feel threatened while they fought a secret war to keep us safe? And we spent 50 years treating them like children, Taemin added, his voice filled with shame. The debate continued for hours. Some delegates still refused to accept the truth. They argued that Council's superiority was based on thousands of years of civilization. They insisted that humanity's apparent advancement was just clever copying of Council technology. But the evidence was overwhelming. The system's failures, the communication breakdowns, the agricultural collapses, everything proved that the galaxy had been dependent on human management in ways no one had understood. Finally, a young delegate named Eun Seo from the Agricultural Coalition spoke up. Her people were among those suffering most from the food shortages. I do not care about pride anymore, she said. My world is starving. Children are dying. If the humans can save us, then I say we should admit we were wrong and ask for their help. But the cost, protested Binwu. They want us to treat them as equals. That would change everything about how the Council works. Good, said Yun Seo firmly. Maybe the Council needs to change. Maybe we have been doing things wrong for a very long time. More delegates began to speak in favor of accepting the human terms. The crisis had forced them to see uncomfortable truths about their own limitations. The beautiful ships that broke down in deep space, the elegant technology that required constant maintenance, the complex social systems that could not adapt to change. We built a civilization that looked impressive, but was actually fragile, admitted Counselor Jae-hoon from the Core Worlds. The humans built systems that worked. As the debate continued, reports arrived from across the galaxy. The Devourer fleet was closer than expected. Long-range sensors showed that their arrival time had been moved up by 2 weeks. The galaxy had only 5 weeks before the invasion began. We are running out of time, Yuna announced. We need to make a decision. Thus, final speech came from an unexpected source. Elder Sung Han was the oldest member of the council, representing a species that had been spacefaring for over 10,000 years. When he spoke, his ancient voice carried the weight of millennia. I have lived long enough to see many civilizations rise and fall, he said slowly. I have seen the proud become humble and the humble become great. The greatest mistake any people can make is believing they have nothing left to learn. He paused and looked around the chamber. For 50 years, we had teachers among us. They tried to help us grow. They tried to prepare us for challenges we could not see, and we were too proud to listen. What are you saying, Elder? Yuna asked. I am saying that wisdom is not about age or experience. It is about recognizing truth when you see it. The truth is that humanity saved us repeatedly, and we never thanked them. They protected us constantly, and we never noticed. They tried to teach us, and we never learned. His words carried incredible weight. Elder Sunghan had witnessed the rise of the council itself. If anyone could speak about pride and humility, it was him. The question before us is simple, he continued. Do we want to survive? Because survival requires admitting that we were wrong about everything that mattered. The vote was not even close. When Yuna called for the decision, an overwhelming majority chose to accept the human terms. Only a few delegates, led by Bin Wu, voted to maintain council supremacy even if it meant destruction. The decision is made, Yuna announced. We will contact the humans and accept their offer. We will admit our mistakes and ask to join them as equals in defending the galaxy. Admiral Kyung-ho immediately prepared to return to human space with the council's answer. But as his ship launched, Dr. Hana made one final discovery that changed everything. She had been analyzing the quantum signatures of the approaching Devourer fleet when she noticed something impossible. Hidden within the massive formation were much smaller ships with familiar energy patterns. Admiral, she called over the communication system. I need to tell you something important. The Devourer fleet is not just alien ships. What do you mean? Kyung-ho asked. Some of those ships used to belong to the species they conquered. The Devourers do not just destroy civilizations. They absorb them. They turn the survivors into weapons against the next target. The implications were terrifying. If the Devourers won this battle, they would not just destroy the galaxy. They would turn its people into soldiers for their next conquest. When Admiral Kyung-ho reached the human construction zone, he found them ready for war. The beautiful ships he had seen before were now armed with weapons that seemed to bend space itself. Massive defense platforms floated in perfect formations. Everything radiated power and purpose. Captain Wu Jin met him with a smile that was both sad and determined. Admiral, we received your message. The Council has accepted our terms. Yes, Kyung-ho replied. We admit we were wrong about humanity. We ask to join you as equals in defending our galaxy. Then welcome to the real galactic community, said Diplomat So-Ra, stepping forward. We are glad you finally made it. The next 4 weeks passed in a blur of desperate preparation. Human ships raced back to Council space, not as conquerors, but as partners. They brought technology that could repair the failing systems. They brought knowledge that could restart the agriculture. They brought hope that had been missing for months. But most importantly, they brought the truth about galactic defense. The Council fleets were not designed for the kind of war that was coming. Human engineers worked around the clock to upgrade Council ships with weapons and shields that could actually hurt the Devourers. Dr. Hana found herself working alongside Dr. Min Seo, the human scientist she had met in the negotiations. Together, they developed new communication systems that could coordinate fleets across vast distances. Why did you wait so long to show us this technology? Hana asked as they worked. Because you were not ready, Min Seo replied gently. Your people needed to learn to work together before they could handle tools this powerful. We were waiting for you to grow up. And now? Now you have proven that growth is possible. The Council's decision to admit its mistakes and ask for help showed wisdom we had been hoping to see for 50 years. When the Devourer fleet finally arrived at the galaxy's edge, they found something they had never encountered before.